When the poisoning symptoms, from shortness of breath to muscle weakness, are detailed at the beginning of the episode, this medical focus sounds like a clear hint. Most likely, in the next episode, we will see how exactly these details become critical, and the delay with the antidote will lead to real casualties, severely weakening the Kochari clan. Against the backdrop of the scene where Sharif shows up with a gun right at the village's most vulnerable moment, his tactics become extremely clear. After such a step, it is logical to expect that he will continue to avoid direct clashes, preferring to strike on the sly while the enemy is busy saving the wounded. The scene where Adil calmly assesses the number of Sharif's men and the condition of his patients shows his mindset. This detail hints that in the next episode, the Kocharis won't go for a frontal attack, but will rely on cunning and ambushes to compensate for the lack of healthy fighters. It is exactly after Sharif orders to collect all phones, cutting off communication, that his fear of losing control emerges. Judging by this reaction, it looks like the Kochari family will be forced to find alternative ways to communicate. And this very communication vacuum will trigger a new wave of panic. When Sheriff reacts with absolute indifference to the cries for help for the sick, the mask finally drops. This moment of ruthlessness leads to the fact that in the continuation, even his own neutral allies might turn away from him, realizing that there are no red lines for him. After the scene where Bechet can barely restrain himself from shooting Sharif on the spot, the conflict among the defenders themselves escalates. Such fury hints that in the next episode, someone from Abil's men might spin out of control and try to eliminate the enemy against orders. The conversation about Sharif needing time to come down makes time the main resource of the confrontation. It is most logical to expect that the slightest delay on the road will become fatal, and the entire interception plan in the new episode will be built around this time gap. Notice the scene where Sharif instantly denies poisoning the water, shifting the blame. Such a hasty defense suggests that later on he will try to fabricate evidence against someone else, possibly blaming a third party to deflect the blow from himself. When Adil directly contacts Commander Bakir and reports the sabotage, the conflict goes beyond a family feud. Judging by this call, the gendarmerie will intervene massively in the next episode, forcing both sides to drastically change their aggressive plans. The scene where it turns out that the atropine has run out turns a medical problem into an instrument of blackmail. After such a statement, we can expect the struggle for the remaining medicines to become the central conflict, forcing someone to make unbearably cruel decisions about who to save first. The attempts to bring Hitran to her senses and the refusal of an immediate IV due to risks look like preparation for a long rehabilitation. It is logical to assume that she will survive, but the consequences of this poison will hit her health for a long time in future episodes. After a heavy conversation where Sharif tells his mother he will never forgive her betrayal, their bond is finally broken. This cruel detail hints that he will leave her without any protection later, and she will find herself under attack from both enemies and former allies. Fadime's panic when asking about Iso's condition reveals her true feelings. Against the backdrop of this scene, the most likely move here is that the fear of loss will make her act recklessly, breaking all previous agreements just to save the man she loves. When Fadime instantly figures out Sharif's ambush plan, she seizes the initiative. Judging by this reaction, it looks like she will become the main strategist for the Kocharis in the continuation, helping Adil anticipate the enemy's next dirty moves with striking accuracy. The scene where the doctor insists on a second IV for Esme is clearly stalling for time. Such manipulation will inevitably lead to Sharif uncovering the deception in the next episode, and his anger will fall upon the medical staff, only amplifying the chaos in the village. Sharif's phrase about hating everyone around sounds like a point of no return. Because of this radical alienation, we can expect that he will move to scorched earth tactics, destroying even his own resources just to inflict maximum damage on the Kochardi family. When Sharif forcefully pushes Esme into the car, her physical resistance says a lot. This detail hints that once trapped, she won't give up and will try to cause an accident or sabotage the trip from the inside as soon as the slightest chance arises. The tears of Sharif's mother begging him to stop shatter against his coldness. After such an end to their relationship, it is most logical to expect that in the next episode she will fully side with Adil, agreeing to reveal her son's darkest secrets for his own salvation. The accurate relay of license plates and passenger positions over the phone shows the perfect coordination of Adil's men. Judging by this scene, the interception plan will be surgical. They will try to cut off the exact car holding Esme, isolating Sharif from his main guard. The information that Gezap has explosives with him adds huge risk to the operation. This trump card is clearly saved for later. Most likely, the grenades will be used not for a direct strike, but to block roads and cut off escape routes. Adil waiting for the right wind direction demonstrates cold calculation. This preparation detail hints that the smoke screen will become the main weapon of the next episode, allowing the Kocharis to completely neutralize the enemy's numerical superiority without firing a single shot. The scene where pregnant Akça's oxygen saturation drops takes the tension to a new level. Due to this threat of hypoxia to the baby, we can expect the focus to sharply shift to an emergency delivery or critical surgery right in field conditions. Sharif's talk about a new life sounds like the delirium of a cornered man. Based on this blind confidence, it seems he has fake passports prepared in advance, or a hidden escape route abroad, which he will try to use at the very last moment. At the moment the smoke trap is triggered, the initiative completely shifts to Adil. By the way, if you enjoy such detailed breakdowns of the show's logic, be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. Back to the scene. After this trap, it's logical to expect that Sharif will lose his entire army overnight. The jokes from the recovered Iso about the sister-in-law diffuse the situation but harbor a threat. This careless remark hints that the secret of his fake marriage with Fadime will soon surface, and in the next episode, it will provoke a serious conflict with the traditional part of the family. Adil's order to throw Sharif into a blind well is not just revenge, it's a psychological strike. Knowing the prisoner's fears, the most logical next step here is the complete moral destruction of Sharif, who will break in the darkness even before real interrogations begin. When Orhan is tasked to check the village and announce aid, order is restored. But after this scene, we can expect the grieving, crazed villagers to demand Sheriff's blood themselves, and Adil will have to strictly hold back mob justice to maintain the law. Faride's refusal to file a complaint on Adil's behalf reveals her principles. Judging by her doubts, in the next episode she will reject simple methods and find a clever legal loophole that will hit Sharif much harder than a standard assault charge. The argument about whether the nikah is valid after 20 years of separation raises an important question about Esme's status. This detail clearly sets the stage. Most likely, we will soon see a decision to hold a new, official marriage ceremony to finally close all legal loopholes. Esme's realization that Eleni was the one who saved the entire village drastically changes the balance of power. After such an acknowledgement, we can expect the Kochari family in the new episode to fully accept Eleni as their own, finally erasing the stigma of enemy blood. Sharif's panic in front of the well and his screams about not being able to stay there at night reveal his weak point. Because of this primal fear, the most likely move is this. To get out of the pit, he will try to bargain for his freedom by exposing his clan's dirtiest secret. The desperate scream, "Gece olmaz," in the well, marks the peak of his psychosis. Based on this reaction, it looks like the night confinement will completely break his will, and when they pull him out in the next episode, he won't be an aggressive leader, but a submissive and crushed captive. Fadime's visit to Iso in the ambulance is filled with hidden tenderness. Against the backdrop of this touching scene, it is logical to assume that their forced deal and fake marriage will rapidly start turning into real feelings, compelling them to abandon their original plan. When Iso timidly asks if she likes long-haired men, he is testing the boundaries. This awkward detail hints that later in their storyline, attempts to get physically closer will come to the forefront, overcoming old resentments and the fear of judgment from older relatives. Vadim and Iso's idyll is abruptly cut short by the memory of Eyüphen's audio recording. After such a cold shower, the most likely next step is Iso's attempt to secretly infiltrate the enemy to steal or destroy the phone with the recording, risking everything for his wife's freedom. The scene where Shirin carefully collects and sorts the phones shows a return of control. Judging by her calculation, in the next episode these devices won't just be returned to their owners. The information inside them will be used to identify Sharif's hidden accomplices within the village itself. The tears of Canan begging Oruç not to leave her expose her vulnerability. Because of this emotional trauma, we can expect that she will later give Oruç a strict ultimatum, demanding he completely withdraw from the clan war or she will take the child and leave. The Hajj's explanation about the invalidity of a marriage contracted under duress gives Esme a powerful weapon. This religious nuance hints that in the continuation, Esme will use the Mufti's verdict to publicly and legally annul all of Sharif's claims to her life and freedom. Adil's harsh conversation with Shirin, where he states that her secret could make him a killer, raises the stakes to the limit. After such a threat, it is most logical to expect that the hidden truth involves the direct murder of someone close to Adil, and this revelation will blow the family apart. When Adil speculates aloud that Sharif might have killed his mother or daughter, Shirin's silence becomes the most terrifying answer. Based on this pause, it seems the reality will be even dirtier. And in the next episode, this realization will push Adil to unprecedentedly brutal measures. Adil's decision to wait until Sharif is behind bars before hearing the truth is a postponement of the sentence. This detail clearly sets the stage. The exposure of this monstrous secret will become the main turning point of the next episode, when there will be no going back. Oruç's awakening in the hospital and realizing he was saved by someone from the enemy side creates an incredible paradox. Against the backdrop of such a scene, we can expect an unspoken non-aggression pact to form between Oruç and Gezap, which will secretly halt the bloodshed away from the elders. Oruç's phrase that taking a life is the Almighty's domain cements his moral stance. Judging by these words, in the next episode, he will become the main obstacle for Adil, trying to prevent Sharif's public execution and demanding he be handed over to the authorities. Eyüphan's ultimatum, demanding the divorce of Fadime and İso, under the threat of publishing the recording, puts the heroes in a dead end. After such pressure, the most logical move here is that Fadime will fake a breakup and return home to buy time and prepare a counterattack. The scene where Esme stubbornly takes her things and declares her readiness to go shows her determination. This detail hints that in the continuation, she won't stay on the sidelines, but will take a highly active part in the final judgment of her former tormentor. The comical moment where relatives call each other a dynasty of gossips provides a breather. But there is strength behind this joke. Most likely, all these noisy relatives will form a tight ring to protect İso and Fadime when Eyüphan tries to deliver his final blow. The mention that the PCR test is complete and fragment analysis results will be ready in a couple of days starts a timer. Due to this detail, we can expect the official confirmation of Hikran's maternity to leak early, provoking a new wave of panic among Eleni's adoptive parents. The deal between Adil and Shirin, where Sharif's life is exchanged for a compromising photograph, looks like a temporary compromise. After such an agreement, it is logical to assume that Adil will technically keep his word, but will create conditions under which Sharif himself will regret staying alive. The direct accusation of Zarife being complicit in buying a child destroys her facade of respectability. Judging by this aggressive reaction, it looks like in the next episode, Zarife will be completely isolated by both families, losing not only her adoptive daughter, but also the remnants of her social status. Zarif's hesitation and her fear of giving up the photo, due to the fear of losing Eleni, betray her desperation. This detail hints that Eleni herself will find out about the bargaining and personally demand the picture, finally severing all ties with the woman she called mother. Sheriff's Knight shrieks from the depths of the well prove that Adil's plan worked perfectly. Judging by this scene, by morning we will see a completely different person, broken, gray with terror, and ready to sign any confessions just to never return to the darkness. The moment Adil utters, "Boşol," I divorce you, 3 times, shocks with its suddenness. But behind this rejection lies a cunning calculation. By freeing Esme from a secret 20-year marriage, he makes the next logical step. Now she must make a conscious choice in his favor herself. Adil's promise to chase after her again and seek her hand brings romance back to the series. After such a statement, we can expect that in the next episode, despite all the surrounding dirt, Adil will start organizing beautiful, traditional courtships for Esme, proving his love. Esme's request to fall asleep on his chest after so many years of separation is a long-awaited point of peace. Against the backdrop of this intimacy, the most likely move is this. They will get a short respite of happiness, making the subsequent blow of fate even more painful for the viewer. Handing over the file with human trafficking evidence to Prosecutor Faride jump-starts the state machine. Due to the severity of the charge, it is most logical to expect that Faride will ignore local bureaucracy in the continuation and instantly issue a warrant, depriving the Fortuna clan of any chance to bribe the investigation. The scene of Sherif being physically pulled out of the pit shows his pathetic state. However, after such humiliation, we can expect that as soon as he feels the ground under his feet and sees the light, his survival instinct will force him to make one last, dirty attempt to escape. When Orich lists to his grandmother all her past crimes, including protecting a murderer, he burns bridges. Based on this brutal confrontation, it looks like in the next episode, Orich will lead an internal coup, completely removing the older generation from decision-making in the clan. Iso's bold confession to the brother of the man he killed, that his marriage was only a shield, exposes old wounds. This honesty hints that the ancient blood feud will flare up with renewed vigor, and Iso will have to protect Fadime from his own relatives. Fadime's persistent demand to get a divorce to protect her husband from Eofin's blackmail highlights her self-sacrifice. But judging by Iso's stubbornness, it is logical to expect that he will refuse the safe path and openly challenge Eofin, revealing the whole truth to the Council of Elders. Bringing Sherif out to the square in front of the entire village turns personal revenge into a public trial. After this preparatory scene, we can expect that the crowd won't be satisfied with just a prison sentence, and Adil will have to forcefully restrain the people from tearing the poisoner apart on the spot. When Adil reveals to Sherif the essence of the deal, his life in exchange for a photo betraying his own family, the circle closes. This realization that his own mother sold his freedom will most likely finally finish off Sherif's psyche in the next episode. Sherif's final accusation and Esme's sudden collapse cut the episode off mid-sentence. Despite her words that everything is fine, this reaction hints at the delayed effect of the poison, and the next episode is guaranteed to start with an emergency fight for her life.